Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and as you probably know by now, I have a fondness for edged tools, in particular axes, hatchets, knives, etc. And I'm always on the lookout for innovative versions of things, kind of maybe a modern take on a primitive design. You know, a lot of times we define our historical periods by what we made our cutting tools with. I'd argue now we are in the era of stainless steel. We were in the Stone Age. There was the Copper Age, which is what this is. This is, in fact, you can see a little bit of the copper showing through right there. This is an edge tool head that I got in Nepal from a collector in Kathmandu. And I'm doing more research about it. It's in actually really good shape. I'm curious about the angles of it, the way it would have been mounted in wood, and it's in beautiful shape. It's been in his collection for probably over half a century. He's getting old. Decided he would start selling some of his collection, so I was able to pick this up. And I haven't figured out enough to basically make a video about it yet, but I'm impressed with the workmanship on that. And unfortunately, I can see it probably had maybe a collection label there and possibly a collection number here. I don't know if I can pull that off and actually find a record, but I'm working with some anthropologists to try to learn more about it. But anyway, let's go to this. This is the Otacle A1. It's by Oknife. My friends over at Obuy sent it to me to take it for a spin. It's what I would put in the a tool in the hawk family, like the tomahawk. There are many different kinds of hawks. Here's a CRKT hawk. They call this the Kangi T-hawk. This one probably has more defensive overtones, say, compared to this, which definitely looks more like a working hawk with specific jobs. Also, this not only is sharpened on the front end, it's sharpened across the top or the spine here. Not super sharp, but definitely sharp enough to watch out, and then very sharp on the point. It's not a full beard, but you can choke up quite a ways on it. And then you've got multiple positions on this handle here to give you some pretty good texture. And then this is fairly blunt down here. It's more of a striking surface. I don't remember what the point of these holes is. If you know, let me know. I figured maybe lashing or adding something to it. But here's Estwing's version. This is kind of a throwing hawk, where it's more of a sport. This doesn't have a whole lot of use outside of that. You can see the tree resin stuck to it. You basically have two good hit points, and the sharpness there tends to keep it stuck in a piece of wood, even if it just grabs a corner. But it is fairly long. You can get a good spin on it, and this is not all that sharp out here. And that doesn't really have a whole lot of use after that. This one, on the other hand, is quite a bit different. The material, first of all, this has got two thick G10 scales with 3 bolts holding the handle on. The head material, or the steel in this full tang design, except probably for this hammerhead back here, is 50 CR 15 MOV, or vanadium. It's a good all-around stainless steel. It's not an expensive steel, but then this isn't all that expensive. And for the functionality, when you look at the designs, the angle of the cutting surface, the size of the cutting surface, and the shape of the cutting surface all matter. So this one would be a better chopper and scraper. I'm not sure up here. This corner might be a little bit more use. This does push it towards that defensive side. It does have more of a beard or a protection down here, so if you're doing some scraping, delimbing, barking, things like that, that helps. Also, it has a fairly substantial hammerhead on this end, and that's held on by 2 bolts. Now, that also makes me think that perhaps other attachments might become available for this. And, you know, the hammerhead is probably the most useful, but I could see some other things because people are definitely working with other designs. So it all depends on what you want this for. I look at it as a workhorse outdoor tool. You can do quite a bit with it, from basically wood processing to some decon, nail removal here, hammering here, tent stakes, or even, I guess you could do some metal forming. Sometimes we have to do that with aluminum out in the bush. But anyway, I'm glad that they're looking beyond just smaller knives and exploring some of these other tools, and probably taking some cues from some of the other larger manufacturers of these kinds of things to see what other directions they could go. And they're also exploring other features on them. So there are lots of Hawks. A lot of them are very expensive. A lot of them are more tactical. I see this as more industrial than tactical, but it does have those overtones, and it looks quite handy. So what it might do is put this kind of technology, this ancient Hawk technology, into more hands, and then when it's in more hands, you'll be able to see what else they can do over axes and hatchets and hammers and chisels and wedges. But anyway, there it is. Comes with the sheath. The sheath is molded kydex here, and as you can see, just slides right in. It does allow full protection all the way around, but exposure to the hammerhead. So often that's what you want. You want to be able to use the hammer without risk of hitting yourself with the sharp end. Looks like this is kind of a nice feature. You might be able to adjust this if it starts to loosen up. And there's different carry options, belt clip here, other attachment points depending on what you want to do. This is actually fairly sharp, so watch out, but it's not, you're not going to cut yourself just touching it. But if it's just hanging out, sometimes that's one of the reasons you blunt the ends, or completely coat them, so you don't have something like that accidentally digging in. But overall, it's a good size. It weighs, let's see, about 13¼ ounces, which not too bad. It's a solid G10, so that makes up for some of the heft. But anyway, there it is, the Oknife Otacle A1. I'm going to call it a Hawk. And with that, Doc out.